Hey everybody, today on the AgentXcel podcast, we have our guests, Matt Chick and Jeremy Fuhst. What's up, guys?
What's up?
You guys,
Sorry,
thanks for
sorry for our
jumping.
shitty camera angle.
No, that's all good. I just wanted to bring you guys on. I know we've met at many masterminds, and I feel like I know your guys' story from like where you guys have been since I've known you for the last probably like few months. And I was on your guys' podcast, probably about a month ago, and you guys have like, to give you guys props, you guys have the coolest format for a podcast.
All right, thank you.
Like it's legit. And I used to listen to about 6 shows. Now it's down to about 2.
Really?
And yeah, because I just kind of like disconnect from them. I'm like, like
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're getting down to like anything that's super beneficial. You guys have a really cool way of like finding out people's like personal lives, backstories, why they're doing stuff, what makes them tick. So I think you don't do the original format of just like where you at. Basically, what I'm getting ready to do with you guys don't do. And I think that's but you guys have so much personality, and you guys didn't change that for the show, which I think is cool. And we're gonna get probably more into that on just your guys' style.
Well, I think for us, we just wanted to have like we enjoy people at a high level. Like we really have a lot of fun with it. So
Yeah.
and we're naturally inquisitive, right? So like when someone says, this happened in my life, I thought about committing suicide. Like I can't just graze over that. We got to dive into it. And they brought it up. So shit, let's dive deeper, right?
You're not just gonna be like, oh no, never mind. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Not
Like
important. How'd you close those 300 homes
Yeah,
that got you feeling this way?
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, what the people need to hear is like, we've all struggled, we've all been through some stuff. They need to hear the wins, the losses,
Yeah.
the struggles, how we come back, what we do, and then how do we live life, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe that could be the way we take away. Just like yesterday's mastermind, when Dustin talks, I love it. And he always talks about like, who do you need to become to have the business that you want? Like we all think that we have to do something different in our business to get more business. And there is a piece of that 100%. Dude, people, we can just hear you munching right now.
Can you?
Oh, bro.
I can't hear myself.
It's like I can hear it.
Okay.
Well, just for anybody listening,
I'm eating a burrito.
Jeremy's literally eating a burrito while he's doing this. This is when I said they're raw. This is how it goes. So no, but keep going, Matt.
It's been a crazy day.
It's been a crazy day.
Been running. So like, and the truth is, if we can elevate who we are, the bigger business will be there because we think differently. We have clearer thoughts. We show up differently. We vibrate differently. Our energy is different. And sure, the marketing and the processes and the systems, all that's super important. But if you show up different and you already have that foundational stuff that you do so well, like there's nothing in this world that you can't accomplish.
Well, I think it's like, hang on. It's like what you always hear. It's 10% strategy, 90% mindset, right?
All of that.
So I believe that to be 100% true. Some might disagree or whatever, but like when we talk to high level individuals, it's not about like, hey, what'd you do to get that listing?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, who are you? Like, what have you gone through to become the human you are right now? And so to go off like what Matt was saying with what Dustin talks about, kind of a weird chain right there. Mm-hmm. What Dustin talks about that Matt repeated, and I'm going to build on is like, who do you have to become? And so figuring out what people or who people have become through their trials and errors and victories and losses and all these things is way more interesting, I think, even though if you're about to tell us how to do 100 units by yourself in a year, then I'm also very glad to hear that as well. So, yeah.
Boy, that's all good. And I mean, I think that's why I love Dustin Runyon and him even being there, because, the tactical stuff is all process. I think we see so many people selling real estate and they all do it a different way. And I'm like, any of us can subscribe to any model and probably do it. I actually think it's how you come into that process that's going to be whether you succeed or not. Like I have agents that'll call me and be like, hey, I get pay-per-click leads and none of them convert. And I'm like, they convert for me. So I don't know if that's a mindset or like how I step up to it. Yeah. But yeah, Runyon's stuff is just fire. I mean, I love the fact that he's always like look inwardly. And I've always believed that like every problem in this world is actually my own.
Yeah.
And like even any day where if I'm ever agitated or mad at somebody, I'll instantly go back and say, what am I mad at in myself? And I'm not taking it out on me. I'm taking it out on them. Like, did I not go to the gym this morning when I said I would? Am I not eating the way I said I would? Did I not make the call? I always find that whenever I'm frustrated, it's actually at myself and I'm taking it out on someone else and not myself. And so, but yeah, that mastermind was pretty solid.
It was dope.
Hey, so can you guys, can you guys introduce? We just stepped into this and we're like acted like everybody knew who you were. And we just started off like we're all just
I'm just kidding.
Well, because that's our mindset. Like we truly believe everyone knows us already because that's just how fucking arrogant we are. Sorry, I'm gonna swear. Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. You do you, man. So tell me a little bit about your business, just so in a minute where you guys came from, like how, and one not only where you guys are at right now in production, but like how did you guys even join forces together? Like did you know each other before, or kind of explain that story?
You go.
You want me to tell it?
Yeah, you can do this one.
Okay, so me and Matt are partners in a company called Impact Real Estate. We were formed in January 2021, so almost 2 years, like 20 months ago. Last year we did about 75 million in production and we did 42 flips and wholesales. This year we're gonna be between 80 and 100 flip wholesales and then maybe like 65 to 70 in production on the team. A pretty large team. We have 25 agents right now, and then like 2 admins, couple, probably 32 total as a company, 33 total as a company. But our story is we met in a mastermind. I was very anti-team. So I've been in real estate 4 years. Matt's been in real estate 5. So this was probably in my first 12 months in real estate. Joined a mastermind, and it was like this new agent mastermind. And I had no business being in that room, no, because I'd done like 2 deals, and like everyone else in that room had been in it like a couple years and kind of knew what they were talking about. And I was just there to kind of tag along because I don't say no. And so Matt starts talking about all this other kind of crazy bullshit, business talk. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, what does he do? And so I was just instantly kind of gravitated towards him. And if you've ever met Matt Chick, he's just a ball of gravity, and people and things just kind of attract to him. So that's who he is, just a big old ball of energy. And so I fell into that trap. And I was very anti-team at that point. Matt had a team and called Valorem Real Estate Group with a different business partner. I had joined a team when I first got in and had a bad experience. So I was like, dude, fuck teams, bro. Like, I don't want to join another team. And I just kind of started hanging around him, and he was trying to recruit me to his team. And he definitely had motives with all the times he called me asking how my business was doing and checking in on my open houses and things,
Just trying to be a friend,
And I eventually joined his team. I crumbled because he's very persistent, and I was on his team for a while. And then after about a year, I said, hey, I'm going to go do my own thing. He said, no, we're going to go talk. We had a cigar. We talked it through, became partners.
So what made you guys go that direction, Matt? What made you want a partner? Just, some things that you can't do that Jeremy could do, or what's up with that?
No, I mean, he didn't really, but yeah.
You're about to say some shit there? You about to talk shit?
No, dude. No, so I was business partners with another guy he got me into real estate. Super, super good dude, super good agent. We just had different visions of what we were creating. But he was a really good friend, and I wish we would have kept the friendship, but it doesn't look that way per se. We don't talk too much now, but super, super good dude. Helped me get into real estate. And then I went to him about it after my first year, and I said, hey, I want to start a team. Let's do this together. And he says, yeah, let's do it. So we created a team, and we had a team for about a year. No, maybe it was 2 years. We had Valorem for about 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, it just became apparent that our visions were different on what we wanted to create. I wanted this big team doing a bunch of units. He wanted to keep it a little bit smaller. He was way more focused on the investment space, that stuff that we were doing. And I was really hands-on. So it just didn't make sense much anymore. So, when Jeremy, it was weird because it happened actually in a hallway. Like, we were literally just walking past each other. He goes, hey, man, I'm really thinking about maybe opening my own thing. And I said, hey, well, let's have a conversation first. And then we went and had a cigar, and I said, hey, this is what it would need to look like for me. You'd have to be all in. He was doing about 50 units a year. I said, if we're going to be partners, we're going to be partners. You're going to put in 100% of your personal production. I'm going to put in 100% of my personal production. We're going to split everything 50-50 on the team. And, and that wasn't how it was organized the previous way, right? So everybody just needs to be all in. This is what it is. We're saying we're going to have a partnership. And
so, like, to be clear, every dime I make and every dime Chick makes personally, right? Yeah. If I were to go to sell a house, he goes to sell a house. It funnels into one account. Yep. And then we split that 50-50. Yep. So it doesn't matter if I go crush 10
and you were doing
you were doing
like 50 units whenever you guys linked up, Jeremy?
Yeah.
What were you doing, Matt?
I probably did 40 that year, 35.
Okay.
I wasn't nearly doing as much.
And you were at that
but
time.
I had a team that was generating $200,000 in profit.
Okay.
Right. So it definitely, in my eyes, it wasn't even. I felt like I was giving him more than he was giving me. He probably thought the same thing. I'm giving this guy all my personal production. He's not giving me. I'm so sorry. So yeah, he goes, hey, and I want to leave it. And honestly, like the truth be told, like he has one of the best skill sets I've ever seen when it comes to talking to people, getting people excited. His empathy is way better than mine. He is a true people person. Like I love people, but I don't have the grace that Jeremy has. Like he has a lot more grace than I have.
Like eating burritos on podcasts.
Yeah, well, like if someone's having a problem, I'm more like, okay, what the fuck do you got to do in your life to no longer have a problem? Jeremy goes, I understand your problem. How can we creatively come up with a solution? I'm more of like, hey, why are you letting something stop you from achieving what you want? So I'm just way more brash. I'm way more direct. And Jeremy's an amazing human. At that time, we had formed a friendship, and I just generally enjoyed him. So part a little bit maybe out of fear, but I also saw what could we grow to if I'm locked up with this guy? Like what could we build if I have a dude that is opposite of me that we get along great? Like what could that look like? And I love the investment space. And so I was like, okay, man, maybe if we run the team together, and then it's kind of evolves where him and his mom, Mickey, run the team, I would say 95%. You think that's
I think like most things just kind of
evolve,
and we kind of slipped into the places that we should slip into, and so I'm much more retail focused and team focused, and Matt's more like how do we drive revenue and how do we go find more investment deals?
So investment opportunities, vision, that's kind of my thing. Jeremy executes way better than I've ever dreamed of, like ever.
When you guys
way more done than me.
When you guys linked up, were you guys already both doing investment stuff? Were you both doing flips, or did that happen when you guys merged and that started?
No, we were flipping. We were flipping and wholesaling. I was. And my other partner Kyle was. So me and Kyle owned Guaranteed Home Buyers 50/50. So I had that relationship, and then I basically, the way the companies were built is I had Guaranteed Home Buyers, that was our investment division, then I had Impact Real Estate. Over the last 12-18 months, we've merged both those companies to where we each have a third partnership in all three.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just opportunity, and I definitely play in the investment space, opportunity role. Jeremy runs the team seamlessly.
So what do you
actually do? Mickey does. So yeah, Mickey does. Jeremy's like I don't know what he does anymore. Mickey really does all the heavy lifting, if you want to be honest.
What do you do, Matt, as far as like focusing on that investment side? It sounds like that's where your passion is. So what does that look like?
Yeah, build relationships, run the GCs, make sure that every agent knows that we invest in real estate and they feel comfortable reaching out to us where we can buy deals from them. I make sure our PPC, all of our lead gen levers and everything we're doing there. I coach the team. I train the team. I role play with the team every day. So I run all the role plays. I run all the sales games. I do trainings in the space, and then outreach, right? So how many people can we get to know in this industry know that we invest? And that way they can send this. I'm not going to say that because Tim always says it. Send us your deals. That way they can send us anything that could be a potential deal for us. So that's my goal, is just to be in relationship with as many agents as possible throughout the valley or others in other states to keep growing the organization.
Okay.
So like we have a saying, it's you don't need more money, you need more people. Right? Yeah. And so like we're big on, hey, let's go and see how wide we can place our roots, and then just there's going to be opportunity in that width, right? And so as long as we have the wherewithal to go, hey, I think we can do something here, let's capitalize on it, And so we try to get as wide as possible and talk to as many people as possible. And so like one of Matt's gifts is just fucking getting in front of people and people falling in love with who he is, right? And so how do we get Matt in front of more people and more rooms, speaking events, things of that nature that will attract more people, and those people go, hey, you're the kind of guy I want to do business with. Let's do something.
It's interesting though, because I might be the first point of contact in the relationship, but it's once. So I might be the 5, 6, 7 touch guy, right? People get to know me. They love me. They want to be in a relationship. And then it's like this transition happens where they meet Jeremy and Mickey. Mm-hmm. And then that like brings them into our world. And once you meet them and you connect with them, it's like game over. Like,
where'd you get that gift of talking? God. Like when you get in front of a room, I mean, there's only so many people in life that like can get in front of a room and just like you capture the attention so quickly. And I think it's just because you deliver it so strongly, and you also have just conviction with what your topic is. Have you always been someone that could get in front of a room and talk?
Like, yeah. So I won't say it was always easy, but I remember back in high school giving presentations. I used to, I used to pay my mom $50 to write my essays, and I would pay her $50. She would type my essay, and let's say I had to give a 5 to 10 minute presentation on that essay. I would literally be in the hall before my English class, just slamming it, just reading, and I didn't write it, so I didn't even know the content, and I'd literally put that essay, I would turn it in, and then my turn would come and present, and I would just knock it out of the park.
Okay.
10 minutes in front of the English class, just based on what I've read. I've always been really good at absorbing information and regurgitating that information. I don't, so that was a skill set, but I've always been able to get in front of a room, but I think it's because I am authentic and I like to just show up as myself. Yeah. So over the years, I've done Toastmasters, or I've done trainings, or I've gotten coaches to help me become better and be better at storytelling, because I talk in bullet points. So I've gotten better at storytelling by hiring people to teach me how to do that. So that's probably where that's come from.
Did you go to Toastmasters and things like that as knowing you wanted to be, is your goal to be speaking in front of more people, or are you just naturally speaking?
No, I want
to speak. That's your thing.
Like, if I could end up having a real estate team that ran itself, an investment company that ran itself, and I got to travel and speak and pour into people and tell people that they're so much bigger than they think they are, how that they can dream bigger and accomplish more. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I would love to do that.
That's my jam too. Like, get me on a subject that I'm passionate about: investing, real estate, finances. Yeah. Like, put me in front of a group. And I wasn't always that way. I've always liked talking one-on-one or one-on-3. Getting in front of like 20, 30 people was something I had to learn. But man, like, that's where if somebody said, where's your best use of your time or your energy? It's like, get me in front of 30 people and let me talk for 2 hours, and I'll leave that. It doesn't matter how much money I made that day. I'm like, my business soul is fed.
Yeah. Well, dude, I feel like, so the first time I met you was at one of those masterminds Kevin and Fred throws. And like, right when I heard you speak, when you were done, I was like, oh, that guy knows what he's fucking talking about.
I think he leaned over and you're like, hey, you need to meet that guy.
Yeah.
You said something like, hey, make sure you meet him.
Yeah.
Like, we're calculated about who we meet. Like, and that's when I'd come up to you and start a conversation with you, because Jeremy thought highly. He recognized something. He goes, hey, go meet that guy. And then I'm like, oh shit, Jeremy's 100% right. Let's be in this guy's world. And it turned out to be 100% true.
Yeah.
You're a sharp, calculated dude that we just naturally enjoy now.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I the same to you guys. Like, that's something where it's like you just said, it's rare to find people out there that they speak, you hear the conviction in their voice, and you're just like, that's a person that I feel is not just talking in theory. Like, I truly feel like they're telling you something that they did. And that means a lot. Cause I think when you go to a lot of places or things, you hear people who say these good ideas, but I'm like, have you executed that? Yeah. Did it? Spent $50,000, tracked an ROI? Like, can you tell us? Please tell me where all the 9 things that this is going to fall apart. Because if you don't,
did you make money buying 200 rentals? You know what I'm saying? Or did you lose it?
Right. So, hey, with your investment stuff, what's your percentage of deals that come to you by referral and that come to you through 80%. Marketing, pay-per-click, and stuff like that?
So last year, 82% of our business came from agent referral. 18% came from what I call guerrilla warfare, and then our marketing. We tried to almost flip that on the head, because what we don't want is kind of what happens in this market. It shifted. Agents are getting out, so our referral partners are getting out, right? So that just means we need to be in relationship with more people. So this year, I would say probably we're 60% referral still. And then we're probably I would have to get my numbers, but we're probably 60% referral. We're probably 20. No, hang on a second. I got that totally wrong. Our team has generated 42% of our investment deals this year. And then, so the team is through guerrilla warfare, cold calling, door knocking, driving for dollars, and then their agent relationships. Okay. The other 58% has come from mine and Jeremy's network. And what I have in there is our PPC. So we started PPC probably about 5 months ago with GeoFlip, and that has procured about 10 deals for us with about $250,000 in revenue. So take 10 out of the rest. So we're probably the rest of those businesses us. So I think we're at 50 units right now with 18 flips going. So the rest would be our agent demographic. So we're probably 65 agent demographic. You think that's accurate? Did I answer that question or did I ramble?
That was like a ramble, but
It
you
was
also
a
answered.
ramble,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
you're good.
Well, I'm
you're
like literally thinking through my mind because I want to give you the absolute statistics. And we just ran the numbers because I said, what portion of our business is coming from our team and what portion of our business is coming from mine and Jeremy's network? And I think that's an important question to answer to see how you're training your team. So I thought we were way worse. I thought we were like 20% team, 70% me and Jeremy. But I'm glad to see that it was 42% team and the rest me and Jeremy. And then 10% of it coming from our PPC.
okay.
I've always thought of like the team models, like what we have, which you don't see very often. So we have a big team and we play in both spaces. It's almost like arbitrage to the game, right? Because now we've got like theoretically 25 trained ISAs, if you will, that we don't have overhead on, that are hunting deals, right? But they love it because they also get
paid well.
They get paid well. You know, and so we have all this free, quote unquote, free labor to go find us deals where other teams or other people have to go and pay for that work, you know, for that labor.
How's that pay-per-click game work in the buying, I'll buy your house cash?
Dude, it's
space?
been good. So we originally started like 4 or 5 months ago. We started with $10,000. So $10,000 a month, and our cost per lead was averaging between $500 and $700. We were spending about $2,500 a week. So, you know, we were generating, 4 or 5 leads a week. They were converting 25%, 30%.
Very different than retail leads.
Yeah,
right?
very different than retail leads. And then we upped it to 15 grand. We upped it to 15 grand last month, and it skyrocketed through. Our conversion is down though because the quality of lead we're getting are less. We're getting a ton of people in the MLS. We're getting a ton of people that want to sell for cash, but their house is fucking gorgeous because sellers are starting to understand what the market is doing. But like I said, so if I take last 5 months, we've spent $60,000. On that 60,000, we've made 257,000. So for me, that's good. I'm happy with that return.
Why do you think more agents don't play that pay-per-click game space? Like I have some agents that are like, I can't, you have some agents that are like, I can't close a deal. And then you've got other agents that are like,
I think it's
closing hundreds of transactions by just purchasing leads.
So 2 things I think that is. One, I believe it's a confidence level and their skill set. If you're a referral based agent, if you've never done cold prospecting or cold closing or getting across the kitchen table with someone that you have no rapport with, it is a sales cycle. It is skill set. You do need to understand, have a high level conversation, explain things well, and be able to close across the kitchen table. The second thing is burn, man. I mean, most agents that I know, if we're talking single agents and not teams or people that have figured out how to do 45, 50 deals a year, and they're in that 25 to 30 deal range, and you tell them to go spend $5,000-$6,000 a month on marketing, and then the inconvenience of time that comes with. So you spend $5,000 a month, and then you get a lead that you're at a movie with your daughter or your son or your wife, and every piece of you should step out of that fucking movie and go get that call, especially when you first start doing it before your systems are in place. When you start doing it, like, your speed to leads got to be fast as hell. Like, it's the commitment plus the money spend, and I think it's painful. So when it becomes too painful, people just naturally don't want to do it. And what they do is they do it for a month and they say the leads are bad because they didn't convert, but they didn't call the lead for 2 days, or they called the lead 5 hours after getting it. So their conversion is trash, right? So I think it's a combination of those 2 things.
Yeah. And I think if they, like, I remember last year, all the leads that I got that came in through, like, specifically to me and not my agents, I made the best ROI and never called one of the leads. So it just shows.
So how much do you spend a month in PPC for retail?
Right now we're spending 6,000. So we went from 10,000 to 6,000. We switched that a little while ago, and I'm probably going to go back up to 10,000 now, because now I have an ISA I just hired probably 6 days ago. Mm-hmm. But without that being there, I still would have did it, because I think that a lot of agents are having, conversations on that they need to be better at the kitchen table to convert. Mm-hmm. I've never been that style. Like, you ain't getting me at a kitchen table. If they can buy or sell a house, they're doing it. I need to be in front of more people, because I'm meeting more and more buyers that are like, hey, I am qualified. I just cannot buy a house right now because of the interest rates or this. So, like, they're actually qualified, want to buy a house. I'm saying you almost can't, right? And so I actually feel like I need to be in front of more people that are qualified to still reach my goals. So I'm going to raise my pay-per-click budget, get in front of more people that want to buy. And maybe at the end of the year, I look at it and say it cost me, a little bit more to close the same amount of transactions, but I'm not going to cry about that either. We're just all trying to get through business right now and make deals happen.
I do think you have to have a skill set though, Chris, if I challenge you on that a little bit. Like you can't just be anybody across the kitchen table and get listings signed.
No.
You're even though that maybe like you're a natural conversationist. I mean, I don't know what you were like when you first got in, but I'm assuming here, I'm gonna assume a little bit. And I'm gonna assume that you were always pretty good talking. You probably always understood the business, or you sought out the knowledge to have a high level conversation. You did some front end work. So when you on the listing appointment that you did have a skill set. And you just being able to articulate and talk shows confidence, right? And when you show the confidence, that's what's going to get you the listing appointment.
And so I remember Gary Keller always saying he would always say, practice before you get in front of someone real, right? I remember 17 years ago, like driving in my car, and I remember sign calls. Yeah. That was the cool thing. I had 27 listings at one time. Sign call would come in, and I would just role play. I'm like, how do I get them to not hang up? And so I'd practice this and practice and practice. So when somebody actually called me, I didn't dud on that.
Yep.
And so, but yeah, you're probably right. Like I knew I wanted it. And so that's where, when I asked you that question, it even made me think of like Runyon, who we listened to yesterday, Dustin. And dude, I've got goals, like you guys do. Like we have goals, and there's no problem you're going to put in front of us, whether it's market a variable or our own skill sets. Like we're just going to wake up and try to overcome them. I think that's what it comes down to for most agents to succeed is like, how bad do you want this? Like, is there something you're striving to go get to make this all happen? Or is this just a second job? And if you make like $26,000 this year, you're cool. And if that's it, like good, that's cool. Like as long as that was your goal and you accomplish it, great. But if your goal is to make 500,000, $1 million, 2 million, and you're just willing to settle at the first market variable that gets thrown at you and just eliminate all your goals, that seems.
I got a question that I've wanted to ask. I'll ask you both this. I'd like to hear both your opinions. With running a team for as long as we have and going, like we've recruited tons of agents. I've seen tons of agents come and go on both teams. And so I have this philosophy now where I don't know if you can help someone become a little bit better, but if they don't have that drive inside them to want to get better or want to go execute or want to go close or want to do the work, like you're never going to force anybody into activity. So do you guys have a perspective on like, all the players I see have some unique character traits. Do you guys see different character traits in people as you're looking at them and go, I understand why that guy or gal is successful. I understand why they're doing the units they do.
I do. I've always made a joke with my wife that, I say, if your mom couldn't raise you in 18 years, I can't take you from 18 to 60 years old. Like there's something about someone that they have to have some drive, meaning like I didn't have the skill set when I got into real estate 17 years ago. I didn't have any assets. I didn't own anything. I looked like I was 12, like legitimately.
You still do.
There you go. Like, legitimately, I even look back and I'm like, I don't know if anybody should have used me. But it was like, I had this prove you wrong attitude. It was like spite was driving me so bad. And Gary Keller used to always say this on stage. It was like, what will get you to where you're going won't get you to where you need to go now. And like spite got me my first 15 years of the business. Like I was the underdog in my head and I was going to win because of that. So I was just going to work harder. I was going to do more. I was going to win no matter what. Now I'm realizing that statement to be true, that what got me here doesn't have to fuel me to the next land. And so I don't have to work on the spite anymore now. Like I can work on, hey, like I've proven myself and I can build on it maybe a little bit more confidently and not so insecure. But that's my opinion. And I also think people got to have a little bit of charisma. Like I'm actually super introverted by nature. Like I could sit by my pool and read a book and not talk to anyone in a day and be 100% happy with my life. But I know when to turn something on. So I've always like real estate is my stage. It's like that insecure, you hear a lot of these country singers or rappers or musicians that say like, I really don't want to be around a lot of people, but like, yet they're on stage with 100,000. It's like, that's their craft. They feel good. It feeds their soul, but they wouldn't just go out there in front of the 100,000 and do anything. They want to do what they want to do. That's their art and they need people to listen. I think real estate's my art. I need people to listen because that's where I get my creative space. So I think you got to have a little bit of charisma, know when to turn something on, but I'll be at a kitchen table, man, and turn it on, get in my car. And I'm like, that was it. Like Not saying I don't like people. It's just like, that's all I had. Like my battery went from 100% to 2% in that 42 minutes in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm done. So I think you got to have some charisma and a little bit of just know how to like, have a goal that you're willing to overcome the daily challenges. What do you think, Jeremy?
So I'm kind of like, I agree with both you guys. Like I always say the most, the trait that I look for in a new agent is just common sense. And it's like, it's such a stupid thing to say, but like in my head, there's a level of common sense, right? Let me get on camera. Level of common sense. There's like none, and then there's a lot, right? And the common sense piece is just being able to figure it out. Like that's it, right? And so am I going to have to show you every tiny little aspect of what this is, or can I give you an overall explanation and then you can go kind of figure it out? And like what I think that applies to everything. Like it applies to conversations. So if you're at a listing appointment, like do you go in and just spit out a script that you've been going over in your head for the last 7 days, or do you go in and go, hey, that's a person, let me speak to him like a person and figure out what problems I need to solve and then solve the problem, right? It's like this common sense thing in my head where, because like I've seen people who I never thought would be successful. So I'm like, dude, that guy's dry as shit, or that guy is weird, or he looks funny, like whatever, right? Like all these things. Not that I'm judgmental.
I was gonna say,
not that I'm judgmental,
man.
That was like an example. There's an
Horrible.
example. You get the
shallow man.
But like all of us kind of see that, right? Or like, but there's like that level of just saying, hey, I'm gonna figure it out, and then like drive is like obviously a necessity, right? Like everybody wants, like there's that quote in Chop Wood Carry Water we're reading right now as a team. It's everybody wants to be great until great requires what it needs, or something like that, right? Like everybody wants to go make, like you said, 500,000 and $1 million and 2 million because the vessel of real estate can get you there. But when it actually requires what it needs to get you there, nobody wants to do it, right? Or very few actually want to do it, and they want to work it like a 9-to-5 job, and they want to come in, go home, and be done. Which I think in time you're able to set up boundaries like that, but when you're in your first 2 or 3 years, like you got to build a foundation to your future, and that's going to require sacrifice, and that sacrifice is going to be your time.
Yeah, I think, I'm even going to change my answer now, Matt. I think now I'm going to say, I think I'm going to answer that now moving forward. Self-awareness. I think self-awareness, like knowing it's that, and I've been here in other arenas of my life. So as the listeners listen, I never want to feel like I'm like critiquing the new agent. I'm just speaking out loud, right? But self-awareness, like someone who, like if I went to the gym right now and I talked to a trainer and I was acting like I knew everything about how to use these machines, that's someone who's not self-aware. Like I would, like that trainer would probably look at me and be like, I don't know, like he doesn't really have anything in his life right now that would show that based on looking at him. And if I use the machine and they saw how I use it, they'd be like, I don't know. I don't think he really knows how to use that. Self-awareness. Like someone when they're talking to you, are they saying, hey, I've got the drive, but I know I'm not there and I'm willing to go there, and we'll see by your actions daily whether or not you're making small commitments daily. But I think there's a lot of people that aren't self-aware. Like I'm really good at this. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like you need to learn. And so I think someone knowing whether or not they're good at something. So there we go. I'm going to go with that.
I lost it for a little while there. So I'm going to steal that though. I'm going to steal that. I like self-awareness. I think that's a good one. I'm going to be using that when I speak to agents, just so you know. So
with the team now, so Jeremy, that's your focus. What does that look like? I mean, are you guys on the hunt for agents to join the team? Is it anybody, or is it if there's a criteria? So we have gone back and forth about this topic many times. And we are hiring. Because are you there? Can you hear me? I can hear you. I can't see you anymore. I mean, but we'll keep rolling. Oh, there we go. I can totally hear you though. Oh, you can? Okay. Yeah. So it cuts out every once in a while on the screen, but I can hear you. Okay. So we've gone back and forth this many times, and we are looking for people to hire always. And it kind of goes back to what I just said. Like you never can really nail who's going to be successful and not. And so we want to give everybody a chance as long as they're just not a complete dickbag. Right. And so we're actually about to roll out like an 86-day implementation or onboarding program where within that 86 days, we're going to be able to see if you've got what it takes or not.
right? Because we also have to balance like our energy. Like, do we want to give energy to those who aren't going to bring us value, right? And the people that require the most energy are the people that bring us the least amount of value. It happens every single time. Yeah. And so we want to make sure we're delegating our energy in the right places. And so we can push the agents who are going to go out and do 30, 40 units to get them to 50 units, right? We want to delegate our energy properly. And so like to hit what we want to hit, yeah, like our goal is to be at 60 agents, right? Like that is our goal. But we have like some will call it like a brokerage model, right? We want to get agents in, and as long as they don't require a lot of bandwidth from us, like they can stay on board, right? Because they're going to crack the additional sphere deal, and they're gonna, like, every other month they're gonna have an aunt that's like, hey, I want to sell my house, and we can monetize that, right? But also, like, it is very fulfilling being able to see agents in our world succeed, right? Like when they go and crush a wholesale deal and they make 20 grand, and we get to write them a check for 20 grand and hand it to them, and they're like, what in the fuck is this? Like that shit that actually changes your life, right? Like us personally, like being able to deliver that.
How do you have the bandwidth? So like if 10 people came into your world today and wanted to start, or 2 came today and 4 came tomorrow and 2 another, like how do you have the bandwidth for that? Is that onboarding structured? Because I should lead with this. Like my wife and I have had this conversation many times as far as like recruit to the team or just recruit to like EXP, you know? And that's one where I'm like, we don't have the bandwidth just to bring on agents, because then it's all of a sudden it's how to write a contract, how to do this, how to do that. Like our model, and I want to just freestyle this with you guys so we can just learn from each other while we're on the Zoom where everybody's listening. But like I go out, and when I'm talking to agents that are on teams, like my pitch to them is like, why be on a team? Like you can come join up with me. I've already got all my stuff in a training platform for you on how to get the referrals, how to do the pay-per-click, how to do this. So like you're building your own brand, and I'm here as more of your consultant and coach. And you got others that are like, hey, I'm going to bring you into my world. You're on my team. I might give you some leads, but I'm going to train you. Like, what's your guys' opinions on the different models?
So I think, because again, now that we're EXP, because we moved here like 4 months ago, also a very common topic, like what is going to be the difference between people on our team and the people that we can recruit and get on our downline, right? Because we want to be able to bring our downline value, whoever comes aboard. But like to answer the first part of your question, the bandwidth, you hire someone like my mother, who's a fucking G, and then just systems, right? And so I think the benefit of having a team like Impact is I really call it an ecosystem and not so much a team, where there's a bunch of people on this team who are givers, right? And so like we have 4 impact laws, and one of those laws is you don't expect opportunity before creating value first. And so we can go, hey, here's your 30, 60, 90. Here's what you're going to do your first 30 days, your first 60 days, your first 90 days. And a lot of times they bust it out down in the bullpen with the agents, and the agents help them like figure out what to do, right? Like we give them a very detailed explanation, but like one of the very first things is they have to transcribe 5 contracts, right? We give them an executed contract. Hey, all you got to do is take a pen and transcribe it 5 times, right? So they can understand where things are, how it works, and that kind of thing. And then there'll be agents on the team that like check it for them, be like, oh, you should have wrote this instead, or whatever, right? They'll just kind of critique them. And so we have this ecosystem of agents who are just, they're balls to the wall, willing to help anybody, you know? And so having something like that, and then having a lot of systems and structure around the onboarding, and then having someone like my mother, who's our sales manager, who's able to kind of manage it all and balance it all and take all the phone calls and deal with that type of thing.
Yeah, I think I really think EXP solved our model that I think we all have, no matter which format we're doing. Because my thing was I would bring agents in and teach them what I knew. And like, let's take, for example, Luis. It was last year, he closed 29 pay-per-clicks, taught him everything, right? And wants to go off on his own, right? That's the MO of an agent. After they start doing like 20, 25 deals a year after you taught them, they're like, I want to go off on my own.
Yep.
Now it's like cool with EXP, because I'm like, hey, I'm looking at it almost as when someone joins up with me, it's I now have, when I'm having my value proposition up front, I'm almost telling them like, hey, if you're still on my team in 2 years, like you probably didn't do it correctly. And nothing's better than going into that initial meeting the first time with someone you're trying to have on your team and telling them like, hey, I actually want you off my team as soon as possible. Because if they actually get off your team as soon as possible and they start building their own team and their own brand, you guys are still financially incentivized by that. So I think it leads into that. That's the coolest thing to know. Like talking to someone out the gate, you're giving them an exit plan with opportunity, and they're like, okay, that's cool. And then you just kind of find the builders from there.
But then it's like the cool thing about EXP, to build on that, is there's always value there. Like, we didn't expect the community of EXP to be so fucking cool. Like, that's what really kind of caught me off guard, was everyone here is willing to give. And we've been to more masterminds and more meetups and things of that nature, because everybody wants to help everybody, because there's a monetary gain to it, right? Like, everyone loves to give. So there's like people want to give anyway, but there's more of an incentive to give because there's a monetary benefit. So like, if someone were to leave the team, yeah, they can leave the team. They're still on our downline, but then they can still plug into all the events and all the masterminds and all these things that EXP throws because of the downline, right? Like, it's a super cool ecosystem that was created.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of agents that I talk to that are on teams with other teams. Like, they're on teams, right? So they're on like 50-50 splits on these teams. And I'm talking to them, I'm like, they're converting 15, 20 pay-per-clicks a year for this team. And when I sit down with them, like, they're giving me these leads and they're giving me this. And I'm like, do you not understand that I could just teach you what to do and you could go make 100% if you just wanted to go off on your own? And it blows my mind on how.
Please don't talk to any of our agents.
That's next. No, I'm just kidding. I'm blown away.
They wouldn't do it.
I'm blown
but
away.
A lot of them wouldn't do it, bro. Like they wouldn't do it. They need the handout. They need the spoon. Like, a lot of them wouldn't go create the system, even if you fucking showed them, bro. Even if you showed them exactly what you do to close the units that you close a year, a lot of them won't do it. They need the team to stay focused, to stay accountable, to stay doing the activity. It's easy. Path of least resistance, right?
I guess you're right. It's the same as like
you.
It's the same as when like Open Door came out. I was like, 100%. no one's gonna give their money away. I value money more than I guess most, because I'm like, no one's gonna do this. Then they did, and I was like, well, there I was wrong. So I think it's the same conversation. Like
you're just built different.
Okay,
you're just built it. Like, not everybody's you, not everybody's us. Some people are employees.
You literally just asked me that this morning, I think, right?
I did ask you. I said, what makes us different?
What makes us different?
Because I mean, there's times I look at my bullpen, I'm like, why aren't these dudes doing more deals?
Like, they have the skill set. They're here every day. They do the work.
Some of them talk better than I do.
Oh, yeah.
Full sentences for sure. But like, do
you think it's because they're just not forking out the coin that you guys are, that it doesn't matter as much? Like, what takes that person from the bullpen where you're at to where you guys are at? Like,
it's in your heart, bro.
Like, I'm seriously, I mean, someone would come up to me and be like, just uneducated person on a lot of things. Like, how could people succeed that? Or is it just I think it's going off like
what Matt just said. Some people are meant to be employees. Some people are meant to be entrepreneurs, right? Okay. So, and there's nothing wrong with either one.
Zero.
But like, do you think the number 10 person at Facebook makes more than a store manager at Home Depot? Like, probably, right? Yeah. But he's okay being the number 10 because that's where he fits. That's where he belongs.
Sure.
Right. He's not number 1 for a reason. But like, not every agent is meant to go figure out, all right, what systems do I need to build? Or what processes do I need to get? What technology do I need? Do I need to go run pay-per-click ads? Do I want to be responsible for all these things? Do I want to have payroll that I'm responsible for paying? Do I want to pay for this lease that we're in this building at $7,000 a month? Right? Like, do they want that? Typically, the answer is no. Well, typically it's yes.
The entrepreneur doesn't even want it. The entrepreneur, I don't want it. You don't want it. None of us want to pay the fucking mortgage on it. We've just decided that that's the sacrifice we have to make to have the life that we have and be true to ourselves.
It's similar. Like, if you were to go, so like a lot of our agents, they challenge us when we say, hey, we're not going to buy that house to flip because the numbers are too tight.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
It's like it's the same mentality. Well, okay, then you put up the money and you assume the risk and let's go do it. Right. But they're like, no, fuck that.
And we'll even give you 70% of it. We'll just take 30.
But they don't want the risk. Right. But if the risk is on us, then it's like, no, it's a fucking deal, dude. Let's buy it. But there's zero risk to them. Like, the same thing applies to like an agent, I think, who doesn't want to be the head honcho. Like, do you want to be 100% responsible for everything, a part of your business, every part?
And you can also be like, and I hate to take it here, but like, if it doesn't work, it's not my fault. If it doesn't work, it was the team that I was on.
Yeah.
They didn't provide enough training. They didn't give me enough leads. They didn't teach me the right thing. If it didn't work, you don't have that extreme ownership. Like what you find in most my voice got super deep.
Super deep.
What I find in most entrepreneurs is that there is a level of ownership over their own life, right? But when you go to the employees that have worked for people forever, it's what is expected of me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do that. I'm a good employee, but like, I don't want to take full ownership of my life. If this doesn't work out, I want to be able to say it's your fault rather than my fault.
Got it. Let's talk about
that's a good point.
Your Foursquare listing appointment that you've did now so many times that I've seen. That, man, that was
so many times. I've seen the presentation so many times.
Well, and I did it on the lowest version and didn't have it on paper, right? But it was kind of a conversation that was had. Are you doing that conversation with, and we'll have you explain it so people know what we're talking about, but is that something that you're doing with investors, or do you do that with a lot of people that call you on actual, like, I want to list my house retail, and you're going over that? Like, which one are you more?
Everybody gets it.
Every single house, even if it was built last month.
Don't give a fuck if they just bought it 6 months ago. They're getting a Foursquare.
Explain that, Matt, because I know what it is, and I think that that's going to be super beneficial to the listeners, because we've had this happen for the last few years. It's been when I went into a listing appointment, I always straight up, I ask my clients they're my dear clients, and I say, hey, whose websites have you been on asking for offers? I'd start there, and they're like, I've been on OfferPad, Open Door, and Joe Schmo, and Doug Hopkins, and and I'd be like, okay, and I'd start there, so I knew where to base this conversation. I'd ask them, what made you reach out to those people, and let me see where I can be of value to you. So it's always gonna be needed. So how do you approach that? Explain this to the people.
Explain it to the people. First of all, hang on, let me go back a little bit. So I believe that your listing presentation has to be a presentation. And if you're winging it, I think you're leaving shit on the table. Like I truly believe in being a polished presenter when it comes to your listing appointment. And you might not want to view it as that. You might want to think your skill set's so amazing you just walk in there and wing it and get listings. But if you're prepared and you show up and you give a legit presentation, you don't get the hiccups in the process of actually doing it. So I think everybody should have a listing presentation, whether it's a Foursquare or not or whatever. But I think your listing presentation has to be simple. It has to be quick. It has to be straight to the point. It has to answer all their questions. Right. So my goal on a listing appointment is to find out, why am I there? So the first thing I ask is, hey, listen, guys, I have a ton of stuff that I'm going to go over today. My goal is to give you as much information as possible for you to make the best decision you possibly can when it comes to selling your home and moving on to the next step. But I know that I know that maybe I might miss information that you really wanted answered. So what are the top 3 things you want to get out of today? And that gives me the framework of how what am I looking to do? Like a lot of them, okay, price of the house. What can I sell it for? What's the process of selling? Like they're going to give you what you need to go over. And I think by being organic like that, now I can tailor fit my presentation to answer their questions, right? Because if this is my favorite thing. Like you get on a Zoom call on a new product and they have 30 minutes blocked off, and you really only want to know how that new system can solve one problem in your business, but they want to give you the whole fucking thing. And you tell them, you go, hang on a sec, I just want to see how the CRM connects and I can sing bulk text. And they want to go, well, let me show you the reporting in the CRM. Let me show you the customer screen. Let me show you. No, I don't care. I will make a decision to buy based on this one thing. So by identifying what's important to them, I think that's key number one. Like what are you doing there and why are you there? And then the Foursquare came out of necessity. I was on a cash buy appointment. And a friend had sent me on, and he wanted me to buy a house cash. And there was no way I was getting this house cash. I wasn't buying it at 70 cents on the dollar. And he was a wholesale in the area. He'd pay me 30% just to lock deals up when he was out of town. So I went, and I'm struggling, man. I'm there for like an hour. I built rapport for like an hour before we got into it. I'm now 30 minutes into negotiations. I'm 30 minutes into like trying to get them at my number. And there's just no way I'm getting it. So I literally grabbed this scratch piece of paper out of my backpack, and I said, did you know there's more ways than one to sell a house? And I literally just drew 4 squares, but it came from the car business because I was from the car business. So if you ever been 4 squared in the car business, you know what I'm talking about. So I draw 4 squares and I started going, okay, retail. retail, and I tell them what's going to happen if you sell your house retail. I was explaining the process, and all I did was like break down in my mind what are the things happens when we sell. We're going to put on the MLS, we're going to have showings, we're going to have a lockbox, we're going to have an inspection, we're going to have an appraisal. You're typically going to have 1% of repairs on your inspection report. If perfect world, we'll have an offer in 30 days, then 30 days to close it out. So we're going to be somewhere between 60 and 120 days. Now that's different now, but back then that's what it was, right? So I was like, okay, great. And you're going to typically net the most amount of money, 92% of value, 6% in commissions, 2% in title fees. 2% in title fees is high. I know that, but I always said 92% of value. And then I go, okay. And there's these things called institutional buyers. They have a buy box. And it was like this thing that was just coming to my mind. And I was literally just writing as I was talking, back to being able to just take what's back. But just like what I said, what I had studied, what I've been taught in real estate by Jed, what I had been taught in real estate by my other mentors and all these people was like flooding into my mind. And I was literally just going and just brain dumping on these people as I'm presenting. So like I'm literally creating this at the kitchen table. And I go through the hedge fund process. I go through the fix and flip process. I go through what I used to say wholesalers. And I would say, these are the guys you need to watch out for. They're going to act like they do everything I do, but they have no intention of buying your house. You would scorch the earth with them. They're going to buy at 60 to 65%. And then they're going to turn around and sell to guys like me and make 10, 15% of what money should be in your pocket. So it's just best to sell to me if you're looking to sell for cash. And I looked at them. I said, which one resonates the most with you? And they said, oh, that retail sounds nice because money was important. Their house was nice. I said, perfect. When should I schedule pictures? And they said, hey, how about you take pictures next week? And I pulled out an ER. Thank God I had one. I pulled out an ER. I filled it out and they signed me. So
so now with that presentation, I know the answer to this, but
yeah,
you always draw that out for them, right?
100%.
I think 100%. I think that's powerful, man, because there's a few things that I've always did in my presentation that were always pen to paper. And I think when you pull out an actual official document, like if you had that officially presentation and you pulled it out, I don't think it's as powerful. I think when you're sitting there, I'm animated. I'm like, I'm going over, and I think they're looking at me and they're like, hey, he didn't pull out this presentation from like his boss who gave it to him. Yeah. Like this dude's straight. I mean, so he knows what's up.
Here's what I wanted to do. I wanted them to feel like they could do business with me no matter how they chose to do business. Yep. I just wanted them to not go, because I had lost some appointments to other real estate agents, right? Because they thought I was only the cash guy. And I was like, man, fuck this, man. I'm gonna monetize everything. Like, we're just gonna do it. And then that's how it was born. And it's just worked because here it does a couple of things. It shows you know what you're talking about. Yeah. If you can explain real estate and how transactions happen in real estate currently in this market, like people are going to look at you like, holy shit, this guy knows his stuff. There's no way that I Foursquare you or anybody that I know that Foursquares you and you don't go, shit, he has a lot of information or she has a lot of information, right? And then if they can articulate on top of like what the market's doing and comping a house, and you show what you're doing is just showing competency the whole time while having a high level conversation. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh crap, now we got to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know, there's two types of selling, right? There's tactic based selling. The old school dogs talk about tactic based selling, you know, manipulation, word manipulation, you know, like I still think you should mirror and match. So I won't call that one of them, but like how to, you know, how to really like say something because you know they're going to respond this way. And that sales tactic stuff is fine, but that's not how I choose to do business. I believe in information based selling. Yeah. So I want to give you as much information as possible so you can make the best decision for you and your family. Now, part of information based selling is, I believe, asking tough questions when the time is necessary to ask tough questions. I'll overcome objections. I'll ask the hard questions about, are we ready to go? Let's do this. Like I'll get in the uncomfortable spot. I've had people say, are you pressuring me? Like I've had people say, you want to pray? I'll overcome all that stuff, you know, and so I'm not scared to get in the trenches with it, but it's because I truly believe I'm the best, 100% the best person for them to do business with, because I'll care. I will protect them. I'll make sure they do good stuff, and I'm a man of my word, and we'll execute this thing.
I think you also had to do it more than a lot of other, because I've heard some realtors that are like, hey, I've never had to even think of doing that. One, I would say you probably lost some business, didn't know that's why, but I think you were forced to that because you lean more heavy on the investor space, at least you do. So you had, and you knew that your sell was, you knew you're going to leave a lot of money on the table if you didn't flip this to a listing quickly. So I think you were more forced into it than like realtors. So I've sat down with someone like, I would never need to know how to have a flip or a cash offer program. One, I would say, I don't think you you haven't sat down and thought of how to market. Because if you know how to market correctly,
well, here's what they've also missed. They've
marketing
also Jeremy says this all the time, and I forget where he stole it, but like, okay, so you're an agent, you're just working for tips, dog. Like you're working for whatever commission that you can negotiate, dude. I go do an investment deal, I'm making $50,000 to $100,000. I go buy a house and I buy and hold it, and I generate long-term wealth for my family. Like you're playing a game. You're playing a game short-term, working for tips. I'm playing a game for long-term wealth in my family. Like I'm trying to generate $2 million in the investment space. That's super lucrative. That in Arizona, tons of people have become millionaires because of real estate and investing. I'm willing to be uncomfortable, go learn that space. All these other agents are going, oh, I just want to list the property because that's what I know how to do. And I think it's the best thing for them. Really? Because the Open Door, OfferPad, all the Zillow, they all showed you that people will leave money on the table for convenience. The problem is you weren't willing to go change your listing presentation and say you don't need to do it to offer a solution. I personally think those agents have not only lost business, but they truly didn't take care of their client. What about the clients that did want convenience?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I remember like I've had that mentality for years, just trying to figure out what the solution is and how can I refer it out, find somebody to take care of it. And I mean, that's how I bought one of my best houses in Surprise. Yeah. I sat down with a client. I actually helped him purchase it 2 years before. I sat down and he said, hey, Chris, I want to sell the house. I looked at it. He said, I kind of want to get out of here quickly. And I was like, it's worth $215. After my commissions, you're going to walk away with roughly $200. I'm penciling out the numbers on rent. I can buy this for $200 right now. Like I'm going to hold this. I told Roy straight up, Roy, I'm going to hold this property. So in 7 years, if you knew I was making a profit from this property, would you care? He's like, no, I don't care at all. He sold that house to me, went and moved in with his new wife and has that house. He just called me last week and he's like, Chris, you still own my house? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, I'm glad you got that one. And I was like, that's literally, that's your client. That's one of my best properties I have. Yeah. And I didn't have to buy it for discount or anything. I just bought it for what my 6% fees would have been. I just said, hey, we can do it 16. We can do it. Grant. Dude, so like that's where I
would have got it 25 grand cheaper.
But he wanted I had to go in there with my fiduciary and do what was right for him. And I was like,
dude, I'll tell you a story. Do we got time for a story?
Yeah, I just got to get off in 6 minutes.
Oh,
6 minutes, the clock.
So I went on an appointment. I was branding the business, cash by appointment. Dude calls me. I show up, nice house in Scottsdale. It's like Scottsdale Ranch area. That's not it. That's it, Scottsdale Ranch. So up north, really well-to-do dude, older guy. His wife died three days ago. Wife just passed away. I went in and we talked about everything but real estate. We didn't talk about the house. We didn't negotiate. He cried. I cried. I was there for 4.5 hours with this guy. 4.5 hours just talking about life, talked about his wife, just talked about absolutely everything. And I told him, I go, hey, dude, straight up, like you can put this on the market. You'll sell it. And he goes, I don't want that. He goes, I'm trying to get to Texas to go be with my family. He goes, what can you offer me? I gave him an offer. And he goes, it seems low. And I go, it is low. At 100%, I'm not going to lie to you. And he goes, will you make money on it? And I go, yeah, we'll make money on it. And he goes, how much do you think you'll make? I go, I'll probably make $45,000 wholesaling this. And he goes, okay. He goes, so you're going to make 45 grand? I go, well, I'm not going to make 45 grand. My company's going to make 45 grand. I'm going to make about 15,000 from it. And he goes, okay. He goes, let's do it. Sign. Well, I think he popped me for another 10. So like he goes, come up 10 grand. So I go, okay, let's do it. So I did it. We ended up selling it to an end buyer. He found out that I sold it to an end buyer, that the dude that wanted to live in the property. We ended up making $75,000